Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode on the Growth Project podcast, a podcast for you if you're ready to make a real impact in this lifetime. Whether you're looking to start your own business, travel the world, or simply live life with more purpose, the Growth Project podcast will guide you every step of the way. Hosted by motivational speaker, life coach, and self-proclaimed truth dealer, Charisse Fierce, you can be sure that the Growth Project podcast will guide you in a progressive and authentic way towards your highest, most badass, unapologetic self. So sit back, buckle up, and get ready for the ride. Hello, my wonderful people. I am so happy to be back for another episode this week. I have just found my groove, I feel like, with the podcast, and I just feel so good about sharing what I'm about to share and about just the episodes that are coming, and I just feel like in a really good place, and I feel like I'm sharing more and more from my heart and less from my brain, less from my ego, and it just feels really, really good, to be honest. And my goal with this podcast was always to first and foremost share. So to share my own experience, share the things that I've gone through, share the ways that I have, healed certain aspects of myself, or let go of certain things, or adopted new truths, and all of that. And for me, if I know something that has changed my life, or that has just really impacted me so much, I just can't keep it for myself. If something has really shook me to that point where it's changed my life, I have to tell the people around me. I have to tell the people I love. I have to tell my friends. I have to, because it's if something really transformed my life, why the hell would I just keep that for myself? I just don't understand that. So I guess I'm a sharer. Maybe I'm an oversharer, but all in all, I just feel really good about today's episode, and I can't wait to dive in. But before we even get in all of that, I want to announce and let you guys know that I have a couple spots open for my one-on-one program, which is Rise. It's called Rise because, Charisse, she Rise, so it's called Rise. But it's all about, stepping into your power, rising into your power, rediscovering yourself, rediscovering your own personal power. And I think that is something that I talk a lot about on this podcast, about taking your power back, realizing your power, your self-worth, your confidence, your authenticity, just allowing yourself to be who you are, who you truly, truly are, and loving yourself for who you truly are. I truly, truly believe that when you are authentic and when you love yourself for who you are and you let yourself be who you are, you shine incredibly in a unique way that is unique to you, and you draw unique opportunities, or opportunities that were meant for you. And when we go through life trying to be other people, trying to conform to things and to boxes and put ourselves into shapes that we do not fit into, we're truly distorting our soul's purpose, and we're distorting our destiny, in a sense, our fate, because we are not allowing our soul's purpose to come true. So if that is something that you're interested in, really rediscovering yourself, your true identity, your true authenticity, your confidence, your purpose, having a purpose and figuring out what your purpose is. Your purpose is so essential to feeling fulfilled in life. If you're just doing things to do things and you have no idea why you're doing it, and you're just doing it because your parents told you to do that, or your society told you to do that, or school told you that that's what you needed to be successful, and you keep doing these things and they don't fill you up, and you don't feel good about it, and you don't feel good about your life, and nothing about your life is like what you want it to be, you are missing an integral part of your life, and that is your own true purpose, your soul's purpose. And we all have a purpose. Like, we all came here for a reason, to create something, to do something, to be something or someone, and we all have a purpose. Like, there's nothing in this realm that's created without purpose. There's no one that's created by mistake. So you have a purpose, and what I really help you do, and what my program is designed to do, what my space is designed to do, is to help you create that, help you create your purpose, help you find your purpose, create clarity around your purpose, and really help you tap into that and into that courage to follow your purpose. Because after you know what it is, after you find the things that you want to do, you definitely do need some courage and some confidence to go behind it. And that's exactly what we do during our time together. We really truly work on that, your courage, your confidence, your authenticity, and truly having the balls to stand out and to do your own thing and to go your own way, and like say fuck it to, the shouldas, the I should be like this, I should do that. Like, no, you should do only what you truly feel is right in your heart. And no one should make the rules for you. You make the rules for yourself. Like, this is your life. And at the end of the day, at your deathbed, sorry to be so graphic, like, you wouldn't have worried about all of the people that you pleased. You're not going to worry about the likes or the comments or all the people that said like, oh, thank you for doing exactly what I wanted you to do. No, you're going to be thinking about all the things that you didn't do because you were afraid of what other people thought or what other people would say, or being your real true self. And like, literally, if you go through life without being yourself and being authentic to yourself and your desires, you're literally just asking for like a midlife crisis, or just for like some sort of breakdown, because there's only so far you can go without living your truth. There's only so far you can go without fulfilling yourself. Like, if you don't fulfill yourself and you don't give yourself the things that your heart and your soul is desiring, then you're gonna have to fill yourself up with other things that you don't necessarily want. You're gonna fill that hole by doing so many other things that can be detrimental to you, to your mental health, to the people around you, because you're going to be wanting to fill a hole that can only be filled by the things that that you should be doing, that you are called to do. So it's okay to feel scared to do those things, and it's totally normal and natural to feel scared and just like worried or anxious about going in that direction and thinking of like, what will people think or anything like that. And especially in our society that like, we thrive, or we truly like value outside validation, so it's normal, growing up how we grew up, to feel like that. But what I really help you remember is that at the end of the day, it's your opinion of yourself that matters the most. If everyone else is proud of you and you're not proud of yourself, it means absolutely nothing. If everyone loves you and you don't love yourself, it means absolutely nothing. So at the end of the day, connecting back with who you truly are, what you truly want, and going on that path is the path to the highest fulfillment. It is the path to the highest happiness. And when you really think about it, the people in your life that love you, that truly love you and support you, want you to be happy. They truly want you to be happy. So why wouldn't that be you doing what you want to do? Yeah, they may not understand it in the beginning, but I feel like when you persevere and you go behind your dreams and you do the things that you want to do, people end up coming around anyways. They just usually project their fears on you in the beginning, but people, like, as soon as they see things starting to work, as soon as they see money starting rolling in, as soon as they see other people start fucking with you, they start coming on your side. So it's like, what a super disadvantage for you to never follow your dreams, thinking that people won't support you and stuff like that, when it's literally just their own fear that they are projecting on you, and they'll end up coming around anyways. So yeah, I just wanted to announce that I have a couple spots open for that. After this round of one-on-ones, I won't be taking any more one-on-ones because I really want to focus on launching a group program in which I'm going to have at least 10 girls. My goal is 10 girls in this group. And I really want it to be a group healing. So this is kind of like your last chance for like the first half of the year. I won't be like taking any more one-on-one clients until maybe like after summer. So if you're wanting to, heal, grow, and glow by summer, you definitely want to get onto that, and that is going to be the link is in my bio, and it's going to be in the show notes as well. So now that is out of the way, I want to talk to you guys about today's episode. So today's episode is going to be the beginning of a subject that you guys are going to hear me talk a lot on my podcast. I talk a lot on my Instagram about it. Recently, I've started posting more about it, and I wanted to come on the podcast and talk more in depth about my true experience with it. So something you guys may or may not know about me yet, depending on when you joined my soul fam, and depending on how much you listen to my podcast and interact with my content, but I have ADHD. I identify as someone having ADHD. I struggle with the symptoms of having ADHD every single day. Okay, so I want to tell you guys about my experience with ADHD, how I, discovered I had ADHD, and just my whole entire thing with ADHD, what I think about it, what tactics I kind of use around it, or just in general, how our brain functions. And yeah, you can probably even listen this episode to see if you suspect yourself of having ADHD, etc. So I've always kind of known that something was up with me. Okay, I've always kind of known that something was up with me. I don't know at what age I started to notice certain differences between me and others, but I've always kind of had a feeling that hey, something's up, something's not right. Some things don't make sense. Why can't I get myself to do simple things that other people have absolutely no trouble doing? It just came to a point where, like I said, I realized this when I was younger, and I lived my whole life through it. Moved to a different country, came over here to Canada, lived here, went to school, had lots of trouble studying, procrastinated almost every assignment, crammed, and procrastinated till the last minute, right? Until you get that last minute burst, and then did all of my assignments, everything like that. And I think it was until I really started working, and going to college and working, that I really truly noticed that dude, something is off. And to be honest, I want to be even more transparent with you guys. It's until I started having some really long-term relationships as well that I noticed that, okay, dude, either I'm a horrible person, either I'm the worst person alive, or something's wrong. And I'll explain to you guys what I mean by that, but I really started to see some differences and some like I started having challenges that I didn't have before, or that I just was like, I noticed that people around me did not have these challenges. And the thing is that when you're working with people, people are the perfect mirror. And especially at work, like people at work don't really like care about you like that. You know what I mean? Like you guys are working together, your colleagues and stuff like that. But like people don't care about you to the point of like sugarcoating your shit, you know? So like if you're constantly doing something, like they'll let you know, like, dude, you're always leaving the drawers open. Like every single time you go somewhere and you open the drawer, you leave it open. Like, can you close it? And then you're like, of course, totally. I totally didn't even know that. And then it happens again and again and again. And then someone else brings it up. And then you kind of realize, like, holy shit, like, what the fuck? Like, why can't I close the fucking drawer? Like everyone keeps telling me, Charisse, when you go for a pen, when you do this, like close the drawer. Like I can hit myself on it, I can hurt myself, or just like, it's important for the stuff to stay closed, like there's information in there or whatever. And like you keep like fucking up and you just don't know why. And it comes to a point where, it starts to be hard to like explain to the people around you, especially at that point where like I didn't know that I had ADHD, or I didn't suspect myself to have ADHD yet, or like I just didn't have the verbiage or the term. So I didn't know what it was. So it's kind of like I was just saying like, yo, I'm so sorry, like I'm absent-minded, like I don't know why I forget these things. But it's like I didn't know really and truly what it was at that point. And like I said, things like work and working in a team and working with others really reflected back to me that like, okay, like there is something. And I worked really, really hard at it. And I worked very hard at staying disciplined in certain areas, especially at work, to make sure that like, I was not creating more work or just problems for the people around me, but I definitely did notice it. I did notice it. I won't lie. Like, I definitely noticed that I wasn't as organized as the others. I definitely noticed that I was very messy. I definitely noticed a lot of those things that, like, yes, I had noticed it in my regular life, but it's like when you're at home, you're just like, oh, well, so what? My room's messy. Like, it's my room, right? But then when you go out and you're working with other people and you have your office or your desk or stuff like that, you truly start noticing the differences, or like sometimes you'll hear the little comments or stuff like that, and you'll start to really like, you can start seeing those things. So yeah, I think work, college, and like relationships really confirmed to me that like there like there's something here. There's something here. Because despite my best efforts and my best intentions, it was just like sometimes I just couldn't keep an organized list, or I just couldn't keep, like, no matter what, I would get overwhelmed, or I didn't have the correct strategies to prioritize the right things or to do things in the correct order. And like more and more that you don't understand something and you don't know how to help it, the more you feel hopeless and overwhelmed by it. And there was a huge point, I feel like, in my life, especially in my relationships, where I just didn't feel good. I truly didn't feel good, because I don't feel like a lot of people talk about this, especially like having ADHD and being in a relationship with another person or someone who does not have ADHD, or even being in a relationship with someone and not knowing that you have ADHD. Like, a lot of people don't talk about this because, I mean, well, I don't know why they don't, but I don't hear a lot of conversation about it. And the thing is that it was in my relationships that I felt like the most worthless, because like I literally could not get myself to do certain things. And when you're with someone and they are observing this, or they're looking at this, or you're just aware that like, okay, like someone else can see my fucked upness, like it takes a toll on you. It takes a toll on your confidence. It takes a toll on like just like who you are in general. And like I said earlier, in my early 20s, I did not know that I had ADHD. So like I thought that it was just like me, that like I was just a fucked up human being, or just like there was something wrong with me. There was something wrong. There was something deficient with me, and that I could never change it, or that like there's just something wrong with me, and that like I shouldn't exist, and like I am just fucked up or broken or deficient or unuseful or worthless. And those are hard as emotions to feel, and they're even worse mindsets to be in, because no matter how good I would do at work, with friends, no matter how much people liked me, no matter how whatever, there was always this underlying feeling that I was not good enough, that if people really knew the real me, they wouldn't want to be my friend. They wouldn't want to, like, there's just this whole entire underlining like feeling that I was just not enough, and that I was fake, because I felt like the person that I was being to other people were not the person that I was at home, or not the person that I was when I was alone. So a huge wound for me, especially growing up, was my messiness, right? So I never truly been able to keep and maintain a clean, organized, well, not clean. Clean is relative. My room was clean. If my mom's listening to this, she's probably like, no. But in my eyes, my room was clean and everything was where I needed it to be. However, I definitely understand that looking from an outside perspective, like my room wasn't organized. The thing is that my room was organized for my ADHD brain. My room was, I need things like outside on the fucking table, on their dresser, to even know they exist. If I put it in a drawer, if I put it in a box, if I put it in a closet, it doesn't exist anymore because I cannot see it. And this is a thing that a lot of people who have ADHD suffer from. I think, what is it called? It is called, I totally forgot. I'm totally spacing out on what it's called, but I know it has something to do with, I'm totally spacing out on what it's called. It's called like something, oh, I hate not having the words or the names for you guys. Okay, I found it. Object permanence. So it's called object permanence, and basically what it is, it's like if an object is not in your direct line of sight, if it's not in your like surroundings, or you can't openly see it, it does not exist. It's like it went into the abyss and your brain does not register it. So this is something simple as just something else being hidden behind something else, doesn't exist, or someone putting something in a drawer instead of leaving it on the counter, and it just doesn't exist. So like growing up, like maybe you were looking for something and like you never find it, but like your mom just comes and she just finds it in 1 minute, or like in 30 seconds. Like these things happen to me all the time. And like growing up, you can feel like this is part of your personality, like it's so normal. But I really truly understood that it was object permanence, and like it was object permanence. People call it like, out of sight, out of mind, and it's truly that. Out of sight, out of mind. Like if I open the fridge and something is not in my direct view, or like if it's not, I really don't remember it's there. Like if it's in a drawer and I have to open the drawer to find it in there, like it's not there. What's in the fridge is when I open the fridge and I can clearly see everything on the shelf, then that is what is in the fridge. If it's not clear, it's not in the fridge. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. So I constantly needed like everything out. So I needed all my products like for my face and stuff like on my dresser. I needed my incense. I needed things where I can see them so I didn't forget about them. And I remember that early that I know that like if I don't, like I would buy things and like it was like, oh well, just put it in your closet or just put, and it's like no, because if I do, I forget that it exists. If I put it somewhere too far, like I forget that it exists. And I think I remember just like cleaning my room and just finding like so many treasures and so many things that like I totally forgot about. And I think like that made my room cleaning process even longer because I would always just stop and play around with things that like I forgot even existed. And out of sight, out of mind, object permanence, like was really just like a symptom of ADHD. So going back to, like I said, again, it may seem like chaotic or messy to have so many things on your dresser, like, you know, like your, like even my bed. So my bed became a place too where I would have things, right? So I would have my journals on my bed because again, I know like, oh, when I wake up, I want to write in my journal, I want to write in my gratitude journal. I need to have it next to me, like with my pen and my thing, or else I won't remember. Another thing that I started doing too, I would have alarms for everything. Like I have alarms, like 15-minute alarms to leave the house, alarms to tell me that you're going to leave the house in 15 minutes. The alarm before that to say you have 30 minutes left. Like I had alarms for everything, for everywhere, and I was still late every single place, every single time. No matter my best effort, no matter waking up early, no matter leaving early, no matter leaving early was a problem because like whenever I felt like I'm leaving early, my brain would just like find other things that like I absolutely needed to do for some reason before I left, and that would cause me to be late. So I'm just like, what the actual fuck? And the thing is that we have to understand that like in the real world, right? People don't have time for you. People don't have time for anything that is inconvenient to them. People don't have time or the compassion or the understanding to deal with anything that does not serve them, that does not make their life easier, that doesn't like, and if anything is a minor inconvenience, they just don't have time for you, right? So the thing is that a lot of people or a lot of bosses or a lot of places, they won't even care to like sit down or like ask questions about why you're late or what's going on. It'll just be like, okay, well, this person needs a write-up, or like they just don't, or like one of my favorite things, not one of my favorite things, but one of my last bosses that I challenged on this, you know, not saying that like it was okay for me to be late, obviously not, and I did like get so much better on it, and I worked at it, and I left like 30 minutes in advance and stuff like that, just to make sure that like I wasn't late anymore. But, you know, this person, they would say to me, like, I just feel like you just don't respect me. And I would be like, well, why would you say that? And they're like, well, because you're coming in late, or you're coming in like 5 minutes before. And like, you know, we want everyone to be here 10 minutes before. So I just feel like you don't respect me. And I'm like, why do you feel like me coming 5 minutes before work or something like that means like I don't respect you? Like, why would you make it about you and not about me? Maybe it's about me. Maybe it's like something going on with me and has nothing to do with you. Why would you think that like because of this, like I don't respect you, or I don't respect the company. I'm like, I have all the utmost respect for the company, and I have all the utmost respect for you. And just like something like that, of just like jumping to the conclusion that like I don't respect you or like the company because like I'm not, I wasn't able to always consecutively perfectly be there 10 to 15 minutes before. This is like just the type of things that like ADHD people deal with on a daily. And yes, being late, I know it's annoying and it's not an excuse and it's not excusable, but it's even for other things as well, of just like zoning out in a convo or having someone repeat something like, can you repeat this, or can you show me this? Or people in general, like I said, they just get so annoyed and they have no compassion whatsoever for anyone that's different or for anyone that's not made like them. If you're not made regular degular and you don't understand things regular degular, or you just don't do things in the regular way, like I just feel like, especially in the workplace, it's just like screw you, you know what I mean? People just feel like you're a problem and they don't it's just hard. It's hard because it's hard like having ADHD, which is like considered kind of like an invisible illness, right? Because no one can know you truly have ADHD just by looking at you. Like there is symptoms like restlessness and like always shaking our legs and biting our nails and stuff like that. But other than that, like people can't really tell if you have ADHD just by looking at you. So it is an invisible illness. And the thing with invisible illnesses is that people tend to like invalidate you over and over again and tell you that you're lying, that you're lazy, that you're just stubborn, that you just don't care, that you're just disrespectful. Like, because they cannot physically see it, like because your arm isn't broken or missing, they just can't find it in themselves, or like they refuse to, because it's kind of like, oh, well, then why should I give you a pass, right? Why should your life be easier, right? It's not my fault that you don't know what to prioritize or organize, or you feel a little overwhelmed, or you need a little bit of help. Like, it's very hard to receive support, especially in the workplace. So if you have ADHD and you're in the workplace, I definitely feel you with that. And another place too is like sometimes even with your own family, right? Because growing up with your family, they may just tend to see you as like, this is you and this is your personality. Like, you don't know how long I thought, like, the more that I get to know about ADHD, the more I'm like, dude, is my whole entire personality ADHD? Because I'm like, damn, I thought I was doing these things because I was like a quirky little person. And I'm like, this is ADHD. So at this point, I'm like, I'm like, my personality is ADHD, because it's like, where do I start and where do I stop? And it's like, obviously it makes sense because it's my fucking brain that's wired differently. So it's obviously going to be part of my personality, because everything that I do, perceive, etc., it is different than a neurotypical brain. Like, let's, for example, take dopamine, right? So again, I am not sciencey and I didn't research the science for this, so don't quote me on anything, but dopamine is essential. What is essential basically for motivation in the brain. Dopamine is responsible for motivation, and people with ADHD produce lower dopamine than a neurotypical brain. Our brain has a hard time in general producing its own dopamine. So we get stimulated by different things. We get stimulated by new things. We get stimulated by new things, by novelty, by learning something new, by, maybe something that's a little bit challenging but stimulating intellectually, stuff like that. Like, we get very stimulated by that. But then asking us to do something repeatedly wears down our dopamine so quickly that it feels so painful to do the most easiest things ever. And people look at you like, what the hell? Like, why aren't you able to do this thing? Or like, why is this thing so hard for you? But they don't understand how excruciating it feels to do the same thing over and over and over again, to do something so boring, to do something so mundane over and over again literally feels like death to us. And I personally believe it's because our dopamine levels are so depleted, and dopamine is what helps you, have that natural motivation to do the things that you need to do. Whether or not you like them, you have that dopamine release, and that helps you get through the process. And most people, the more times they do something, the better they get at it, the quicker they get at it, and the less like dopamine is required, to motivate them to do something. But since we do not produce the adequate amount of dopamine, it doesn't actually get easier for us to do it. It doesn't actually get effortless. It doesn't actually get better. It's still excruciating for me to wash the dishes or clean the kitchen or clean the bathroom or anything like that, because at the end of the day, first of all, I'm not motivated to do it. Second of all, it doesn't stimulate me in any way. And the thing that I want people to understand too, so people will be like, yeah, but I don't want to clean the bathroom, but I do it, right? The thing is that the way that your brain is wired is that you don't want to clean the bathroom, but you do clean the bathroom, right? And after you clean the bathroom, your brain is set to release a bunch of chemicals that is going to make you feel good about yourself, which means that after you do the hard thing, you get a reward. That is how your brain trains you to keep on doing the hard, mundane, everyday tasks that are we don't want to do. Your brain does that. So it's like psychology, training a dog or giving someone a treat every single time they do something. Your brain does that to you. Problem with our brain is that it doesn't. It doesn't. So guess what? We do the hard thing and we don't get a treat at the end. So next time anybody wants to compare themselves to an ADHD person and just say that we're just lazy or we just don't want to do the thing, understand that we are doing the same exact thing that you're doing with less dopamine, less motivation. It's more excruciating. And at the end of it, we don't even get the reward. We don't even get to feel proud of ourselves. We don't even get the feel-good emotions to prompt us to do the same thing next time. Imagine if every single time you did something, the person next to you got a candy or a reward or money, right? And they're like, yay, I'm going to totally do this again. I'm going to do 10 push-ups. Yay, I got my reward. I'm going to do 20. I got my reward. And you're there and you did 5 push-ups. You did 10 push-ups. You did 20 push-ups and you get nothing. Would you be motivated to do 10 push-ups again, 20 push-ups again, 30 push-ups again when you keep getting nothing for the push-ups that you're doing? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't feel motivated to do it. You wouldn't want to do it. You would dread doing it because you knew that you would continue to use so much effort that it would be painful and it wouldn't amount to, I'm not talking about the physical results, but I'm talking about the feeling inside of you. It wouldn't amount to a feeling inside of you. It wouldn't amount to anything inside of you. And that is part of what makes it so hard for us to do the task that we know that we need to do, is that we, one, do not have the adequate dopamine to motivate us, and two, we're not motivated because we know that we are going to do a task that is going to take a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of sometimes sweat and tears, and we're not going to get the reward for it. So if you ask me, we're fucking saints at this point, because to continuously put yourself through that and to come to the point to understand, we have to be our own cheerleaders. we have to make things fun. We need to get our brains engaged and, do the hard thing, even when our brain is asking us to quit, even when the thing feels absolutely excruciating. We have to be there and say, it's okay. Just get it done. You can do this. Just finish. Just 20 pieces of laundry to fold, 10 pieces. You can do it. It's not overwhelming. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't feel bad. You can do this. Don't focus on the pain. Just focus on, this is how I talk to myself and my brain to get myself sometimes to fold laundry. Well, this is how I used to. I am getting better at it because just when I start to feel the feelings of overwhelm, I just my thing now is I start humming. I'm like, and I start humming because I feel like humming and singing automatically tricks my brain into thinking I'm having fun or I'm happy. And I don't know if it boosts some of my levels of dopamine or serotonin. I should definitely look this up. Maybe it's a trick, but I just kind of start humming and I kind of start taking my brain off of that because I know if I go down that path, I won't finish what I started. Another way my ADHD shows up is that I'll start tasks and I'll just try to do so many things. I go to the kitchen and I'm like, I'm here to make breakfast. But then my brain's like, okay, but before you make breakfast, let's just do the dishes. And then when I start doing the dishes, it's like, oh, you know what would be really great and what would maximize productivity is if you put in a load of laundry right when you're doing the dishes. So by the time you finish doing the dishes and you make your food, the laundry would be done and you get to put it in the dryer and you get to be super productive. Another thing our brain loves to do is be productive and save time. And I think that it tries to save time because it tries to save effort because it knows that effort is excruciating in certain parts for us. So we're always trying to find workarounds and save time and save thing. And I recently realized and I started telling my brain no, we're not gonna do that because guess what? Now I'm gonna stop doing the dishes. I'm gonna go put a load of laundry. Before I know it, I'm doing something completely different. I still didn't eat. The dishes is still not completed. And now I have laundry. And guess what? Now I have 3 tasks to do instead of doing 1. And now I feel overwhelmed. So I started telling my brain, no, you know what? We're just gonna start with breakfast. And then we'll do the other things. And certain days I allow myself to follow the dopamine and follow my ADHD, but I truly set intentions with myself and I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this, but we're coming directly back to washing the dishes. And I try not to get distracted in between because what I realized as well is that my brain will be like, okay, we're gonna go do the laundry and then we're gonna come right back. And then the thing is I'll start doing the laundry and then I'll remember that I had this thing and then I'll do this thing or I just really need to send this message really quick. So I grab my phone and I send this message and then I get locked into my phone and then the laundry is there and then I didn't finish the dishes and then it's just a lot. So I just started telling myself it's okay, the laundry's gonna get done, everything's gonna get done. But I started prioritizing things and I started prioritizing getting things done over being productive. So if you have an ADHD brain or if you're just you're resonating what I'm saying, stop focusing on being productive and focus on completing things because you most likely have a problem completing stuff and then you come home or your partner comes home and there's you meant to do well and you meant to be productive for that day and cook and clean and do all the things, but instead what it looks like is that you have 3-4 things half finished. So instead just focus on completing things. It's better that you have like 2 completed things or 1 completed thing than having 4 uncompleted things. And I know it makes no sense for our brain. Our brain just doesn't feel productive completing one thing at a time. It feels boring, it feels unproductive, it doesn't feel good. But I promise you, it's going to help with the feelings of like, the shitty feelings that you get when you just feel disappointed in yourself that you didn't complete the things that you wanted to complete. And it's also going to make you feel less overwhelmed because you're going to actually be completing tasks and you're not going to be left with 4 things to be done or 4 things to complete and always feeling like you're in this, I'm behind, I have so much to do. Focus on like 1 or 2 tasks and complete them, and like pat yourself on the back. Remember to congratulate yourself because sometimes, like I said, our brain doesn't do it. So pat yourself on the back for doing those 1-2 things and just like call it a motherfucking day. You don't need to do everything in one day. And I know our brain loves to convince us that we're superhuman people and we can do 7,000 things in a day, but we can't. And we just end up creating a lot of burnout, overwhelm, and disappointment for ourselves. So that's just like a little tip. I know I went on a side note, but that was just a little thing that I wanted to put out there. So I've been talking for a little while, and like I said, this is not the first or the last, well, this is the first, but this is not the last time that I will be talking about ADHD on my podcast. So do not worry. And I would love to hear your guys' feedback on this. I would love to hear if you guys have like requests on what you guys want to hear on the podcast and what you guys want to hear specifically about ADHD, and if you guys like this topic and want me to continue talking about it. I also would love to have feedback on whether or not you guys resonated with this, whether you feel like you have ADHD, you think you have ADHD, do you relate with some of the symptoms, some of the feelings, some of the situations that I described? Like, I want to go so in depth in this because I just feel like, especially in our community and in our cultures, we still have these stigmas around mental, like I said, mental things, mental divergence, mental health, and we don't like to accept these things. We don't like to talk about these things. And, we, even our own family members and people around us have a hard time seeing us truly and seeing our struggles and seeing what we go through every single day with things like ADHD, ADD, etc. And like all of these invisible illnesses or neurodivergence. Like, I really feel like people don't understand the depth of the struggle, the depth of the feelings, the like how much rejection, how much we deal with, just in general from people who do not understand us or who look down on us, who look at us like we're just lazy or just like we don't even try or we don't or we're just letting our life pass us by, or we have so much potential but we're just wasting it. Like, all of these things really hurts a person and it really takes a toll on their self-worth, on their self-esteem. And a lot of people with ADHD, a lot of adults with ADHD, a lot of adults who are undiagnosed with ADHD, especially women, have this sense of low self-worth and low self-esteem. And this is why I really wanted to talk about this topic, because I know what it feels like to be a woman in this situation, and especially in our society where you're supposed to be perfect, you're supposed to be neat and well organized, and your house is supposed to look away, and you're just supposed to be doing all of these things. And sometimes these things are overwhelming for you, and you just may feel like you're not woman enough, you're not perfect enough, you're not good enough, you're just never going to amount to anything. And I'm here to tell you that is so not fucking true. That is a lie. That is the biggest lie that your brain has told you, that society has told you. I'm here to dispel this myth. I'm here to prove wrong. And just to let you guys know, most of the entrepreneurs in our world, and like successful entrepreneurs at that, have ADHD. And that is a statistic, or like a thing that I found on the internet, and I researched it, and it was actually true. They were talking so much about like the positive sides of ADHD, and I think I'm gonna just do an episode like on that directly. But just like, our enhanced creativity, our problem solving abilities are off the chart. When we actually focus on something, our ability to get to the bottom and get to the root of something is off the chart. Like I said, our creativity, our problem solving skills, our ability to see the connections between things that are to other people, they're completely unrelated, but we can see the connection between them. And like I said, this is a divergence of the brain, but it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with our brain. It just means that this is a different manifestation of our brain. And I definitely believe that there's a reason for it and there's a purpose for it, and that we excel in a lot of different areas. And I just want to talk more about it because it's so easy to get caught up in our identity and just be like, I have ADHD, so I can't do this, that, and the other. But it's so not true. So this is where I'm going to stop today's episode, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Like I said, it was just an introduction to this subject on my podcast because I'm going to have other episodes coming out on it. And I wanted to let you guys know that like I struggle with these things and I have ADHD, and I want to talk about it on this podcast, and I want this to be a safe space for you guys to send me questions and talk about it too, and feel safe and supported, and like no matter what, you can do anything because you were made perfectly and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. So thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. It was so close to my heart, and I can't wait to talk to you again. See you.